Salute, 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 salute. Mental depression is 100% absolutely real. Depression, anxiety, mental illness, suicidal thoughts, homicidal thoughts, dark thoughts, nocturnal thoughts. The shits is 100%, 100. Absolutely. It is an absolute fact of life. Period, point blank. We get into sports, boxing, football, basketball, baseball, football, soccer, hockey, whatever we get into that to escape reality for a brief moment in time. That's why everybody that's a fan of a sport in some form or fashion vicariously lives through the athlete. And you're going to be a fan of an athlete, period. That's just how it is. Unless you are that athlete, and you still can be that athlete and still be a fan of another athlete doing a sport or somebody that's iconic that did it before you. So it's an oxymoron when, we look at athletes and don't look at the human factors, human shortcomings in different situations that they have to go through, adversities, mental depression, addictions, anything that any other human would go through. Sometimes we would try to take them, put them on a pedestal and feel like they are above these problems when the truth is they go through these problems the same as anybody else goes through these problems, and they go through it on a big stage with the bright lights, with millions of dollars and millions of fans. You see what I'm saying? So the fact of the matter is, when they go through certain adversities and they overcome adversities, we celebrate them. When they go through some adversities and they fail and they fall short, sometimes we boo them. We throw tomatoes at them. We kick them while they're down. Because in a way, when they fall, if you worship that person, when they fall, then you feel less of yourself. You feel lower. When they succeed, you feel higher, because you vicariously go through the ebbs and flows of their life, of any athlete, if you are a sports fan. Now, this is what I'm saying. Adrian Broner pulled out of the Figueroa fight because of mental health depression. I can go on. This video could be an hour long talking about all the shit I've seen about Adrian Broner pleading for help because of shit he was going through. Just to shorten it down, I remember a couple of years ago, he had a Instagram or some social media or some tweet or whatever the fuck he had. It was like he had a pistol and he was talking about just taking himself out. And people thought he was trolling himself at that point in time. And even to this day, I still don't know if he was serious or not. I know that ain't nothing to joke about. But I know that's something that he put out, like, sometimes I just ready to take my life. And I think maybe later on he recanted or retweeted, I was just playing, blah, 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 blah. I don't know. I'm just saying that's only one of many stories that show Adrian Broner got some screws loose. Like most athletes and most boxers got some screws loose. So when I see something like that, I just say, I ain't gonna necessarily say, I'm not gonna necessarily say prayers go out to that brother. I'm just gonna say, man, I hope he gets his situation together. You know what I'm saying? I do believe in prayer, but I pray for people I really, really love. But it does cross my heart when I see somebody that's going through something like that. A part of me gonna say, man, I hope he pull it together. Because I know it could go the other way. But we talking about boxing. We're not trying to go so deep, but I'm gonna keep it 100% on this. What I'm saying is the difference with Adrian Broner pulling out of a fight because he's feeling like he's going through too much depression, too much anxiety, too much darkness, too much whatever adversity. He can't face it. He can't bring himself up to it. He's pulling out of the fight. That's You know, in a certain way, I gotta salute that and say, you know what I'm saying? When it's time to take a knee, you gotta know when to take a knee. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, it would have been different if he would have tried to go ahead and go for the gusto and say, fuck it, I'm gonna go in there. Now, once he would have went in there and fought Figueroa, after that bell ring, win, lose, or draw, it's just no excuses. So if he would have fought and he would have lost, and then he would have came back and said, oh man, Figueroa, I really would have won that fight. I just was dealing with depression. Then that's why I would say you can't use mental illness and depression as an excuse to why you lost, because everybody going through shit. And if you ain't going through nothing, somebody right next to you or in your circle or in your life or in your anybody in your circumference, somebody around you going through something. We all going through something. So if he would have used that as an excuse to why he lost the fight, I would have said that's some bullshit. Give Figueroa his credit for just being a better man that day. But he didn't. He backed out of the fight. Now, in a certain way, some people gonna say what they gonna say and feel how they gonna feel. Me, necessarily, you can go back and say, like when I looked at Ryan Garcia, when he pulled out, people was talking about, oh, Ryan Garcia, man, he's just a prima donna and this, that. Everybody has something to say about Ryan Garcia. Me, I just said, I hope he gets this shit together. I hope he gets better. I ain't gonna say it's a great look for a boxer to pull out. Even, you know, he's facing his own version of whatever depression and anxiety is. Social media pressure, you know what I'm saying? His pressures of his fans are peer pressure, or just the pressure of him coming into fame and whatever I think he had some kids, whatever he was going through that made him feel like he had to step out of the game for a while. He stepped out of the game. If you go back to my archives, you will see I didn't really kick that man while he was down. So if you go back to my archives and you see that, just subscribe to the channel. The difference with Danny Garcia is he not necessarily him really, but his dad was just kind of doubling down and using that as an excuse, and the only excuse as to why they lost a fight. I appreciate Danny Garcia being an advocate for mental health. You see what I'm saying? I appreciate him going on the front lines and being cannon fodder to say, look, man, I'm an athlete. I go through stuff. It was mental depression. It was anxiety. You know what I'm saying? It was dark times for me. My mind was cloudy. I appreciate him coming out and confronting that demon and being an advocate so all kind of people can be inspired by his victory against Jose Benavidez. But just don't cast a shadow on that same thing by saying it was the only reason why I lost to another fighter. Because now you turn it into an excuse. You dig what I'm saying? And I just don't think that I don't think that we can make excuses for when we lose. Because don't nobody want to hear your excuses when you lose. Just pick yourself up, dust yourself off. And, you know, like I say, the most dangerous thing about excuses is that they're usually valid, but we can't use them as the reasons to why we fall. We got to use our excuses. We got to use our adversities, not as excuses, but as motivation to get back up when we fall. A lot of fighters right now talking about mental health issues. That's also I want to talk about boxing, but mental health issues keep popping up. Adrian Broner just talked about his mental health and his depression. Danny Garcia just talked about his mental health and his depression. Ryan Garcia talked about his mental health and depression. Tyson Fury was a big advocate for depression. And I'm going to tell you the difference between Tyson Fury. Like Tyson Fury, depression and his mental health made more sense to me because he didn't even use it as an excuse to losing. He didn't lose a fight. Not in a ring. He might have lost a fight outside of the ring with himself, because that's life. That's boxing. Boxing is one man against himself. You fighting against yourself, and life is the same thing. Even though we got all kind of adversities coming at us from every single angle, the job, the family, the dog, the bills, traffic, life, all the shit coming at you, it's still one man versus himself. It's a mind thing. You always in your mind trying to figure out how to maneuver adversity and obstacles. That's why I like boxing, because it captivates one man going in there taking on the world, right? Tyson Fury suffered from depression after he lost. I'm sorry. Tyson Fury went on depression after he won in the ring. He had his whole life built up to one moment to become a heavyweight champion. And when he beat Klitschko, after that, he looked around, he had nothing left in his life to bring him happiness. He got obese, turned into an alcoholic and a drug addict, and suicidal. So for him to come back and lose weight and clean up his act and clean up his body, you know what I'm saying, come back and fight and win against Deontay Wilder, no matter how you feel about that whole trilogy, to me, you still have to salute Tyson Fury for being able to come back from wanting to crash his car into a tree and take himself out of the game when this man got a wife and kids. I don't care what race he is. He came back in the game of life to defeat a lot of his demons, and he ain't gonna never be perfect, because nobody's gonna never be perfect, but he came back and he fought. It's just like that movie Southpaw. I love that movie Southpaw, but the man lost his wife, and then the city, the state, whatever, came and took his kid because he wasn't able to take his kid. But the whole fight was revolved around him coming back and winning the side of the ring, because when he ran in the ring, he can run in life and he can get his life back together somewhat, get his daughter back, get his life back on track. You know what I'm saying? So that's what I'm saying. Tyson Fury, his depression was through victory. Victory defeated him in life. And he didn't use it as an excuse to lose. He used it as a way to come back and be victorious again and find another way to bring happiness into his life and, you know, become great inside the ring again, but still keep his happiness and know what he had to do to keep his mind healthy. So you can say what you want to say about the man. You know what I'm saying? Ryan Garcia kind of did the same thing. He took a step back. I think his pressure was more like a peer pressure thing, a social media pressure, but that's a different kind of pressure too when you got whatever millions of followers. I don't understand it. It's for a younger person's generation to see, but that was his pressure along with whatever else he was dealing with. He stepped away. He came back. The only thing I didn't like about Ryan Garcia, or I wasn't shitting on him and kicking on him, but I was starting to lose a little bit of respect for him, is when he kept chiming in on other fighters' fights. Like when you take a break, you gonna time out because you on mental health and depression and anxiety. But every time somebody else have a fight, you can chime in on social media and say, "Oh, I would have did better than that. I would have knocked this dude out. That wasn't no good fight." It's like, dude, if you trying to get your mind right, don't worry about what the next man doing inside the ring. But he came back and he's starting to do his thing, right? So I'm just waiting to see how that's all going to play out for Ryan Garcia. I'm not going to kick the man while he's down. I'm not even kicking Danny Garcia down for using it as an excuse to losing. I'm just saying the line that we have to set when it comes to this mental health issue that's so real, that's so deadly, that's taking people out left and right all around us. I know this. I know this personally. My thing is, when we confronted with these suicidal thoughts, when we confronted with depression, when we confronted with anxiety, when we confronted with life and how fragile and how deadly and how dangerous and how quick it can be over, people will take their life. I always heard that suicide was a permanent solution to a temporary problem. When I was growing up, you would hear in church that if you committed suicide, it was like an automatic death, automatic sentence to hell. But at the end of the day, with the human mind, everything that, all the ingredients that's put into the human mind, there's a little drop of suicide dropped in everybody, in my opinion. Now, somebody may never have had a suicidal thought in their mind. I really appreciate that, but they got something else they got to deal with. So what I'm saying is this. Adrian Broner, I hope you get his shit together. I salute you for what you've done and accomplished. I don't agree that you Hall of Fame, but that's your opinion. I'm not knocking you because of your opinion about your resume or who you fought and your titles and Hall of Fame. And that's just boxing shit. You know what I'm saying? To me, you was entertaining, and I felt like you better off focusing on getting your life together outside of boxing. You know what I'm saying? Danny Garcia, I feel like you losing to Spence, you just say the best man won for that fight. And you move on with your career, you improve yourself, and whatever goals you have, you try to achieve them. And if you fall short, like they say, when you aim for the moon, if you miss, you land with the stars. You still fought you still had a bunch of great fights on your resume, and you still a respected champion. You don't have to have an excuse to why you lost to Errol Spence. Period. You don't have to have an excuse for why you lost. It's okay, it's cool. We know you're a great champion, but you came up short. And you bouncing back, and we appreciate and we support you bouncing back. You know what I'm saying? So that's it in a nutshell. I don't want to stretch this video out way too long. The mental depression is serious business. It is real deal, Holyfield. At the end of the day, we don't use it as an excuse once we lose, but we use it as a motivation to repair, rejuvenate, and come back bigger, better, stronger, because whatever don't kill you, make you stronger. Whatever don't break you, it makes you. You dig what I'm saying? And depression and anxiety and mental health, when it comes to that, we kind of all in this thing together. So we do have to support each other and not kick each other while we down. Pull each other up. You know what I'm saying? Try to reach down and pull somebody up if you up, and if you down, try to give somebody a boost up.